Adams, who's a columnist with PJ Media and a former United States Department of Justice attorney who worked on election fraud cases during his time at the DOJ. Chris, it's good to see you again. And so here's my question for you. More and more we are hearing from conservative bloggers, conservative circles, that they believe anecdotally that some of these prosecutions are politically motivated. Just walk us through where that comes from, because the Obama administration has indicted a lot of Democrats too.
Well, this is a pattern of abuse with this Justice Department. They will go after their political opponents and they'll give sanctuary to their political friends, Megan. You see this from the very beginning. They've gone after Catholic groups, pro-life protesters, Christian churches like Hosanna Tabor. They've gone after Tea Party groups like True the Vote. And look what they do on the other side of the ledger. They help their union friends by crushing Chrysler bondholder rights, or helping the NAACP by going after Rick Perry in the voter ID cases. This Justice Department is very skilled at helping the president's political friends and hurting the president's political enemies.
You've got groups, we talked about this last week, like Friends of Abe, which is a Hollywood conservative group. They basically have to go underground if you're conservative in Hollywood. If you want to be a part of a group that thinks like you have to keep it a secret in Hollywood in order to keep working. And so this group, Friends of Abe, has done that. And now the IRS is probing their purported tax exempt status, wanting to know exactly who's on their membership lists. They've refused. We see Dinesh indicted, although they claim that he bundled money for a conservative Senate candidate here in New York in a way he was not allowed to do. And others have said, you know, look, yes, he may have committed some crime. He's pleaded not guilty. But that normally the DOJ wouldn't be getting involved in something like this. It would possibly be a state matter, or they would allow him to plead it down. What's your experience?
No, this is taken very seriously by this Justice Department. They're called conduit cases. This Justice Department is looking very, very closely at conduits, meaning you give money for somebody else to give to a candidate, because under federal election law, you're limited into how much you can give. But Megan, understand something. These campaign finance limits are even something that are ideological. They're limits on political speech that limit what regular Americans can do, while the unions are free to be heavily involved in elections. So that's one of the reasons why this Justice Department is focusing on conduit cases. They're very easy to prove. They're very easy to detect. I've been in the training when I was at DOJ. It is not a hard case. So either he did it or he didn't do it, and we'll find out.
Before I let you go, having worked at Department of Justice, do you believe it's possible that this DOJ is actually targeting conservatives?
Well, it's interesting. When I went through the training for conduit cases, I will never forget that they pulled up on the screen for all the FBI and the DOJ election people an example of how to look for them. And they pulled up the records of Joe Wilson, a Republican from South Carolina, all of his donors. And I thought, isn't that interesting that they're focused on Joe Wilson to teach all the FBI agents how to do this? So this is very serious to this Justice Department, because they're on the side of the speech regulators. They're on the side of people who want to limit political speech. And these cases against Dinesh are just another example of that.
It's interesting. Joe Wilson, of course, who infamously shouted, "You lie," at the president from his during his State of the Union address a couple years ago. Chris, good to see you.
You too, Megan.